Well, we've come to the end of the book of Exodus, and something that hit me relatively recently is that the way that this story ends here actually leaves us with this massive cliffhanger. I mean, the whole project that God has for Israel might be going off course because of this little paragraph we're going to look at today, and how that actually sets us up for the need for this incredible book, Leviticus, which we're going to dig into starting next week. Exodus 40, 34 through 38, and Leviticus 1:1. Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. And Moses was not able to enter the tent of meeting because the cloud settled on it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Throughout all their journeys, whenever the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle, the people of Israel would set out. But if the cloud was not taken up, then they did not set out till the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of the Lord was on the tabernacle by day, and the fire was in it by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel throughout all their journeys. And then Leviticus 1 begins, the Lord called to Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting. So this, I'm going to lay out, there's a huge cliffhanger right at the end of Exodus. And recall back, so the last several weeks we've been in Exodus 32 through 34. This is where Moses is going up to Mount Sinai. He's actually in the cloud of the Lord. All the people are down here, but Moses is able to go up. He's getting the 10 Commandments, right? He hears the name of the Lord. He actually gets to be in God's presence and speak to God face to face. So we recall all of this, some of the same images of the cloud, of Moses entering the cloud, and then even Moses speaking to God face to face. And if we're paying attention, this should actually stop us in our tracks with a big, giant question mark. What is going on here? Why is Moses not able to enter the tent of meeting? That's a big problem. Moses is the only person so far who has been able to enter the cloud, the presence of God, to speak with God face to face. But it seems like something has happened, and even Moses, let alone the rest of us, if Moses, this man of God, can't enter the presence of the Lord, then what hope do any of us have? I was incredibly illuminated by a particular scholar, Michael Morales. I'll put his book in the show notes. He has this incredible dive into the book of Leviticus in ways that I never even realized. And one of the things that he points out that I think he's absolutely right is this tabernacle, the place where Israel meets with God, actually gets two names throughout the Old Testament. And so it's called the tabernacle, which literally means something like dwelling place, right? But it's also called at different times the tent of meeting. And Morales points out that some people just kind of think, oh, these are synonyms and they're kind of interchangeable and there's no real rhyme or reason why. But he actually makes a really strong argument that the biblical authors, they're using these in very particular ways, and it actually shifts importance. And so even thinking about this, what does dwelling place mean? Well, this means that God who is in heaven actually comes down to earth and sets up a dwelling place, right? And so this is the place where God dwells. The God of all the universe decides to dwell here, which is great. It's glorious. The tent of meeting, on the other hand, it's a reference to the people of God wanting an audience with this God. We want a place to actually be able to go and meet with God. And the question that I think the book of Exodus ends with essentially is, how does the dwelling place of God become the tent of meeting? How is the place where God dwells going to become the place where we can go to meet with this God, to have relationship with this God? And at this point, even Moses can't enter the cloud of the Lord, the presence of the Lord. So right now it's the dwelling place. It's the tabernacle. How is it ever going to become the tent of meeting? And so that's kind of the end, the cliffhanger that the end of the Exodus leaves us with. And actually, what's fascinating is you dive into the whole biblical story. The books of the Bible, especially in the Old Testament, were crafted and put together with such detail that they were set up so that one book ends to set you up to have to read the next book. Genesis ends with a direct link to Exodus. Exodus ends, and Leviticus, the spoiler alert, is Leviticus is the answer to this question, to this cliffhanger. How is the dwelling place of God to become the tent of meeting? Enter the book of Leviticus. Now we're going to get into that. I'm not going to unpack it all here. We're going to go through some key points in Leviticus over the next couple weeks. But even here we see, okay, so now the Lord is going to call to Moses from the tent of meeting and lay out the stipulations. Here's how we're going to resolve this problem. Here's how you're going to enter the glory and the presence of God. But it's all building up to the importance of the book of Leviticus. I encourage you to sit in that tension this week. We talked about the names of the tabernacle. How does the dwelling place of God become the place where we can meet with God, the tent of meeting? And what does it mean that if even Moses, this holy man, this prophet of God, he can't be in the presence, then what does that mean for you and for me? Let's sit in that this week before we turn the page to Leviticus.